this weekend as well. Originally, we hoped
Sì.
that we will be streaming from the physical festival in Prague to Italy. Unfortunately, the French festival was cancelled and turned into a series of online events that are going to be taking place until the end of this year. And this event is one of them. The aim of this streaming is to present three Czech artists. I'm going to be interviewing them, each of them for 10 minutes. So we should be finishing in about half an hour. My first guest is actually standing next to me. His name is Jindřich Janíček. He's about 30 years old, so still very young, but he's been already part of the Czech comic scene for a long time as a publisher, artist, and illustrator. Also, he is the owner of this beautiful bookstore, and so we are very thankful that we can be actually streaming from here. Jindřich, you've been running this bookstore and also a publishing house with your wife, Nicola.
Yes.
Can you tell us something about this family business?
Okay, first of all, hello. Thanks for inviting me, even though I'm in my own house now. And about our business, well, we met with Nicola during studies. We started dating, and then we started a publishing house. And it was, she studied graphic design or typography at the Academy of Arts, Architecture and Design in Prague. And I studied at the same time in the illustration studio. So we just naturally worked together because she's much better in graphic design. I'm doing the illustration, so she always helped me with typesetting and stuff around the pictures.
Yes.
And that then it evolved into publishing house, like automatically. The master's degree work for both of us was publishing a book, my author's book in my studio, and she started like Czech classics book edition in her studio, like on master's degree.
And so the bookstore came later.
Yeah, the publishing house is this year 5 years old, and we are publishing like 4 books a year. So we are small, and the bookshop is trouble with glasses. The bookshop is 3 years old now, and the bookshop is just like small space, one room, and it's more of a bonus for us because we work in the back room. We needed a studio because the books are quite spacious. So so our first books, when we published it, we had it in our living room, and the second book came, and now this was 1,000 books under our bed. So we needed a space, and we found space.
So you combined the two.
Yeah, we just randomly found space with that has access to the street, so we turned it in a bookstore.
Great. So you are also an artist, and a few years ago you collaborated on a comics called The Remarkable Robot Expedition. This comics takes place on post-apocalyptic Earth, more precisely in post-apocalyptic America. What is the book about?
Yeah, it's about 2 robots. I call them the useless robots, and they are just traveling across the country. And the script was written by Tatiana Rubášová. We met during studies. She studied screenwriting. We did more shorter stuff together. Then we did the first book, and then she came up with the idea about book about 2 robots. And then we just sort of like brainstorm what I would like to draw.
Did you help her with the script as well, or was it just?
Yeah, we are not sure. We don't know. We tried to figure out how the book was created later, and we didn't know what was my idea, what was her idea. But she did all the text afterwards, but maybe some scenes were from my storyboards and back and forth.
Great. The book has received some attention from foreign publishers. In what countries has it been published, and which of the foreign editions do you like the most?
It was published first it was in Hungary, then in Netherlands, and this summer it was published in South Korea. And the best edition, I got them here. They all look different. Not sure where should I show them, but the Hungarian edition just reprinted the Czech edition, and South Korean edition used some pictures from inside on the cover, and I like the best by Boycott Books, the Netherlands edition.
Just the Dutch edition.
Dutch
right?
edition, because they let me to do a new cover and used better paper and did everything I wanted at the start, and then yeah.
So you like the Dutch
Yes.
even better than the Czech one?
The Czech one, the Czech one, the first print run was on verse paper, and I wasn't satisfied. But they did a reprint here, and they were inspired by the Dutch edition, and they used better paper now, and now it's the same.
That's great. And you've been also making short comic books or pamphlets about mostly American marathons and long distance races. What is your relationship to running, or how did this happen?
I just met a friend here in Prague. When we moved here, and it turns out that he was running a magazine about running, like small 700 copies, twice a year published magazine about running, and he came up with the idea that I should do a comic for the magazine. At first it was thought it will be inside the magazine, then it turned out into like proper supplement, like separate book. It's 32 pages long comic books, and the topic came from the magazine. Like what's inside the magazine, they are writing about marathons and about Boston Marathon, for example. So they point me to like good year of Boston Marathon. For example, I did 1982 Boston Marathon because the finish was so close. Then the next issue was about ultra marathons, which is 100 miles running. So they again pointed me to some interesting race I would be able to draw. And that's what I do for like 2 years now. Hopefully will continue. And and I'm not a runner.
Yeah, okay.
I'm not running.
Okay.
Just.
But again, it's most about American races. Also, the robot expedition is also kind of taking place there. You seem to have a special bond to America. Why is that so, or why is that?
Yeah, well, I blame the TV shows for that.
TV shows, okay.
Or movies like I remember seeing Casper in cinema and then Flubber and these Disney comedies. But when I returned home from school and parents were still at work, so I could watch like this cheap Hunter or LA Heat TV series that all takes place in America. So I just grew up liking it.
And then you went there later on, right? I mean,
but only a couple of times.
A couple of times, yeah. And perhaps the final question. So you have been active as a publisher, artist, illustrator, a bookstore owner. Which of these roles do you like the most?
I think all of them. But you are fed up with one thing. You move to other, use it as like, cool down, and then move to other thing. Just constantly refresh yourself with the other stuff you are doing.
Yeah, okay. That sounds good. So again, thank you so much for being here and for letting us stream from this bookstore.
Thank you.
And now we are going to invite our second guest, who is Lucie Lomová. Lucie Lomová is an established Czech artist. She has been creating comics since the early 90s. Back in the 90s, she came up with a series about two mouse friends, Annie and Joey. It's a comics for children, and it became very popular. It has been adapted for theater as well as for television. And later on, especially since the year 2000, Lucia has been also creating graphic novels and comics for the adults, experimenting with detective stories and so on. So she has been also published abroad thanks to these graphic novels. And she's now standing next to me. Thank you for coming, even though, as you can see, we are wearing masks. But it's great to have you here. And you have been very active this year, despite the fact that it's the COVID pandemic. Earlier this month, you were the guest of the Lakes International Comic Art Festival in the UK. The festival was only online, but you participated in the project called Pass the Panel, alongside some famous artists like Charlie Adlert and so on. Can you describe what the project was about?
So, hey everybody. Well, this project was very funny because it reminded me a children's game, like when you draw a picture and you pass it to your neighbor. And it was exactly the same thing, but it was not children, but it was, I think, 16 comic artists, and we were not passing just pictures, but comic pages which were composed on different number of panels. And it together created a story which was quite silly about a sheep from Kendal, which became an astronaut, but she didn't have a rocket, but a traditionally well-known tower of town hall from Kendal. So I was happy that I wasn't the last one to finish the story, because it really was very insane. But I was surprised how the last member of the team finished it.
We should say that Kendal is the town where the Lakes Festival is taking place. And we actually have a video of Lucia's contribution to the Pass the Panel, which we will show you now.
My name is Lucia Lomová, and I am the contributor number 9 in the project Pass the Panel. The story about the astronaut sheep is getting wider and wider, and today I'm going to create a new episode, and I'm going to start with creating the main characters. It's fun to take someone else's characters and adopt them. I like to combine digital and handwork because I like both, and sometimes it's difficult for me to decide. Sheep are usually portrayed as defenseless and stupid, so I wanted our hero to be more savvy and brave. I'm really looking forward how the next ones will continue with this story.
So that was the Pass the Panel, but in September you attended another festival, another comics festival in Lyon, the Lyon Comics Festival. What did you do at the festival, and did you enjoy the experience?
Yeah, I enjoyed it very much. I was in Lyon only 3 days, but it was another special challenge because I'm usually used to work on a little paper which is maximum A3, let's say. And they gave us, it was again some like 10 people, and they gave us a big paper, like 50 to 65 centimeters. And we were supposed to pick one of the exhibits in the room of the Museum of Textile. And based on this exhibit, we were supposed to make some kind of art on this big paper. So I decided to make it easier, and I took a tape and I divided with this masking tape. I divided into 8 panels, and I found a very beautiful poem by Marie Laurencin, which is a well-known French painter from the beginning of the century, or maybe from the end of 19th century. And I divided the poem into 8 parts, and it created a story, like because I have chosen the beautiful dress, woman dress, and it was about a solitude, and the woman dress was divided into 8 pieces by the tape.
So your comics was inspired by both poem and also the dress as well?
No, the dress was a real exhibit, and I was very lucky that they gave me the dress I wanted.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then it makes this atmosphere of loneliness and sadness and so on.
Okay, that sounds interesting. You seem to have a special bond to France, because I think 3 of your comic books have been published also in France, right? And translated into French. Is there a reason why your work is so appealing for the French?
I think it was just a good chance. The publisher liked it, and it fitted then to his needs as a publisher. And there was a special chain of synchronicities that lead to this result, and I think we don't have enough time to explore it more widely, but I think that this kinds of synchronicities happen when you are ready for them. Okay, that's true. Let's speak about one of your comic books that also was published in French, and that's called, in English, Savages. It tells a remarkable story based on real events about how a famous explorer brought, back in 1908, he brought an Indian from South America to Prague. Can you tell us about the origin of this book? How did you come across this story? It was again just by chance, because I was just thinking about what to do next, and I was in a pub with friends, and one of them told me about this book she just read, and it was a book written by the explorer, by Fritsch, by traveler Alberto Wojciech Fritsch, who was talking about his experiences with Indians and how he brought this Indian to Europe. And just from the brief description she told me, I realized that this could be a good subject for my next comics. And when I read the book, I was totally excited, and I said to myself that that's it. You know, and then the other thing is that it's also connected with the reality in a very not mysterious but wonderful way, because the real descendants of the traveler have found out in, I think, 2001 or quite recently, that the traveler has fathered a daughter there. And nobody from the family knew about it, and they were not sure even whether the traveler himself knew about it. So they got in touch with them, and they started a foundation which supports the Indians, which are in fact partly descendants of the travelers. So this book became part of this wonderful story, because when it was published, they brought it to the Indians. So I have several pictures showing the Indians with this book. That's I think the best you could wish for, right? Yeah. Anyway. But unfortunately, it's not in Spanish yet. And also not in Italian, right? It's just the French and Polish? No, yes. It's French and Polish, and now it's going to be published in German. Okay. Not in German, in Austria, in German. In German, yeah. Well, it's going to happen in days, so I'm not sure whether it's already out or not. That's amazing. Okay, so thank you so much for this interview, and thank you for coming. And now we are moving on, and we will welcome our third guest. Thank you. Who is Štěpánka Jistlová.
Štěpánka is a young Czech comics artist. She is actually a student of Lucie Lomová, and Štěpánka has been very active as an artist and organizer. She is behind the Czech branch of the Ladies Docomics group, which brings together women involved in comics and arranges workshops, exhibitions, and so on. And this year, Štěpánka has published 2 graphic novels, and she has brought them with her. So, hi, and thank you for coming.
Hey, thank you for having me.
So, this year has gone very well for you. You published two books. Let's start with the first one. Let's start with the book about Mlada Horáková, who was a Czech politician and feminist, executed by the communist regime back in 1950, 70 years ago. Did you feel a sense of responsibility when portraying such an important and brave person?
Oh, yeah. I was kind of nervous how to put it together because I wanted to make something I could be proud of, but also I knew that I can't really do any experiments. I really shouldn't do anything crazy with it. Mm-hmm. In the end, I think it's like a very serious book. I don't mean just the script, but even the drawings are very realistic. The colors are kind of muted, and I just really try to go after the likeness of the people who actually lived through it, and because it was supposed to be kind of educational, I really went after the archives and the photos and just really try to make a book that can present the events that happened, but also the world that they happened in.
Yeah. So the first book has this kind of historical dimension, whereas the second book is a completely different story. That's a book called Without Hair, or Hairless. In fact, it was published just yesterday, so congratulations. And, how does it feel to finally hold the book in your hands, and how long did you work on the book?
It's been really long. Strictly, for me, it feels good to have this mental window closed. But I started working on it a year and a half ago, but my friend, who's the author, started writing maybe 2 years ago, so it really took a while until we got this beautiful printed piece in our hands.
And what is it about? And that's the important question.
So this is one of the first Czech autobiographical comics books. It tells the story of my friend Teresa, who suffers from alopecia, which most people don't really recognize. It's an illness that makes all your hair, eyelashes, eyebrows fall out. And it's kind of a mysterious sickness because there are more reasons you can have it, but nobody really knows. And it doesn't really have any side effects. It's really strictly it's just affect how you look. It's not you would be vomiting or actually feeling bad. It's mostly how people react to you when they see you, because they see a bald person, especially when it's a woman, and they think that it's probably cancer or something like that.
Yeah. So as you just mentioned, the graphic novel is based on the personal experience of your co-author, the writer of the book, Teresa Drahoňovská. Teresa is a good friend of yours. Was the friendship and trust between you important when tackling such a sensitive and personal subject?
I would say that this book has a very special background, because most of the autobiographical comics book, they have the theme of one person, but since I am the one who did the art and Teresa is the one who lives through it, it was kind of unique. She had a script for me with all the photos, all all the things I needed. But for me, it was kind of hard because I wanted to make a visually interesting book, but I also knew that I really shouldn't cross any lines because it was important to for her to still to be able to relate to this book because she became a character. There was kind of a gap between the person that I know is Teresa and the person who is the character in this comics book.
Yeah. When illustrating the book, you relied on mainly 3 colors: pink, white, and black. Was there a specific reason why you chose these colors?
We chose pink because one of the main topics we try to explore in this book is womanhood. I know that like hair loss for men is something they have to tackle eventually one day, at least most of them. But for a woman, it feels like you're losing part of yourself, and it feels like you're losing your womanhood. There are scenes when Teresa is kind of confronted with the reflection, and she can't even properly recognize herself. So the pink, apart from bringing a really nice color that I really like, was kind of to soften the message and also to kind of explore this theme even more.
Do you generally believe comics is a medium that is well suited for exploring difficult and perhaps taboo themes?
Yeah, definitely. Especially because the words, they, at least to me, they feel kind of concrete and they can feel very harsh, but image is always softer. Like, yeah, there are different styles, but somehow we can interpret images maybe more in more ways. So that's the same like why we use emojis so much, because there's a picture, has more meanings, it might come as a little bit more soft. So yeah, that's one of the reasons I think it's a really good medium.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for the interview. It was great, and good luck with presenting and promoting this book. And we are now at the end of the stream. So thank you so much for watching us, and we hope that next year, hopefully, we'll be able to either go to Lucca or invite someone from Italy for the Frame Festival in Prague. I hope you enjoyed, and good luck with the rest of the festival. Bye.